What's up and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking time management. Now, more specifically, I'm going to be sharing 7 time management tips that you can start implementing to increase your productivity fast. All of that coming right up. So if you are totally new to me and my channel, what's up? I'm Sherri Brown. I'm the creator of the Moms Marketing Lounge, and I mentor busy moms who are on a mission to actually build an online business and get it right the first time. Now, on this channel, I do everything from product reviews and tutorials, as well as actual social media and marketing strategies you can implement to go further faster when building your business online. So if you're new here and this kind of seems like it's up your alley, then consider subscribing. Just make sure that you hit the bell so you get notified as I upload new videos each and every week. Now, before I hop into these 7 tips, I did just want to kind of give you a little heads up. This was part of a lesson that was pulled from the Moms Marketing Lounge program, okay? And it's not everything, it's not the entire lesson, but it is, the tips that I pulled that I really think are going to help you. Now, I have personally used every single one of these tips, and not only that, one of the students inside, Miss Davita, says, the Moms Marketing Lounge has really helped me become more productive with my time, get clear on my direction, develop better habits, and expand my reach. If you want to grow, this is the best place to do it. And so you can see just from one of my students who have gone through and implemented this, it has really helped her to increase her productivity. And if you decide that you really like these tips and you want to not only, see the rest of the lesson, but also, what else is inside of the Moms Marketing Lounge, and you want to dive deeper into the productivity module, the time management module, then right now the Moms Marketing Lounge is open for enrollment and will be open through the end of May. I'm also running a special to where you can get a 5-day trial for only $1, okay? So you can hop in if you decide that you want to stick around. Awesome. You can go through the entire program. All you have to do to get signed up or learn more is just go to momsmarketinglounge.com, and it will also be in the description below, so feel free to check that out. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the tips. Now, the very first tip that I'm going to give you, and if you have been following me, I am a huge believer in scheduling things, okay? So the number one time management tip is to schedule it. What gets scheduled gets done, and what doesn't, you are not going to remember. Now, in lesson 3, I am going to be covering some simple things that you can add into like your DMO, which is your daily method of operation, when it comes to social media and, just things that you can do on a daily and weekly or a monthly basis. And I'm also going to talk about scheduling a little more, but this is a huge key. Like, this has been a huge key to me, staying on task and being able to manage my time better while also getting more done. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do this in regards to scheduling. Now, you can use a physical calendar, physical planner, or you can do it digitally. I personally prefer, I'm an old school pen and paper kind of gal, okay? So I personally prefer a physical planner, and I'll link to a couple of planners that are my favorites below in the description that you can check out in case you haven't found a planner that you love. If you've already found one that works for you, keep crushing it. Don't even bother looking. But, but just making this a priority and a habit is really going to serve you well in the long run if you stick to it. Now, if you prefer a digital calendar, that's okay too. There's lots of different resources and tools and softwares out there that you can use, like your phone. Your phone, you have a built-in calendar. Chances are, if you've got a smartphone, you've got a calendar right on your phone that you can use. Or maybe you want to use like Google Calendar or something else. So no matter what it is, just pick something that works, that you feel like that you can stick to, whether it be digital or physical, and start scheduling and planning it out. Now, the second tip that I'm going to give you when it comes to time management is prioritize, okay? So Steve Covey said the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. And I absolutely love that, okay? And priorities are going to vary from person to person based on the type of business that you have, again, what season you're in, what your business drivers are, what you're focusing on. But everything you do and don't do is moving you either towards your goal or away from your goal. So look at what you need to do, okay, and label them according to the level of importance and just start tackling accordingly. So again, when it comes to my business, finishing all of the training, all of the modules, the documents inside of the Mom's Marketing Lounge takes priority over, once it's completed, then I'm going to be focused on creating a webinar that again, is not only building my email list, but also driving traffic to increase and fill up the program for the Mom's Marketing Lounge. So obviously I'm not going to do the webinar first. I am going to finish this program, and then when I do the live launch, I'm going to launch it with 2 different pricing tiers, a self-study, which is going to be a little less expensive, and then the VIP, which is going to be limited to a certain number of students. Moving on to the third time management tip, which is the one thing, okay? Now, here's the thing. One book that has had such an impact on me and has really made a shift in my thought process overall in regards to how I manage my time, and ultimately what I focused on, was a book called The One Thing. And again, I'll put the link below in the description under the video if you want to check it out. But the entire concept was about this one thing, okay? So determining, and at the point before I read this book, I was kind of all over the place. I was focusing on a lot of different things. I obviously didn't have those business drivers in place, and I knew that I had so many goals and I was trying to tackle them all at once. I was focused on multiple, a couple of different like social media platforms, and it was just too much, okay? And by reading this book, The One Thing, it's really determining, okay, what's the one thing that you can do to really move your business forward? And what I loved the most about this concept is it is a concept that you can actually use in all different areas of your life. But again, too often we as humans, because we are super impatient, right? We try to do it all. And when that happens, we generally end up half-assing, and we end up with half-assed projects, unfinished tasks, and zero progress, okay? So when it comes to your business, what I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, well, before I kind of go there, I just, again, don't want you to get trapped going down rabbit holes and chasing your own tail. And that's where this whole one thing and your business drivers and all of this can really come into play to help put those blinders on and narrow that focus, okay? So with that being said, here are some questions that you can kind of ask yourself to determine this one thing. So what's, the one thing I need to learn right now to move my business forward? Now, obviously, with you being inside of the Mom's Marketing Lounge, you're really wanting to learn the foundation to really building your business so that you can have a solid brand. You can start building your email list. You've got some leverage, like how to create content. For me, there's still so much that I want to learn. And me, we're the same. We can't learn everything at once. And therefore, you have to kind of determine your priorities and go from there. And that's why right now, according to my business drivers and what I've kind of deemed priority in my business, when it comes to personal development, right now I'm dedicating 1.5 hours a week to really learning copywriting and how to better connect with you and how to better connect with, those in my audience. And later on, once I have the Mom's Marketing Lounge program complete, then I'm going to move on. And the next thing I'm really going to learn how to do is brush up and refresh when it comes to how to put on, webinars that are actually going to convert. Then once I've mastered that, I've tweaked it, then I'm going to move on and, move on to something else. And so the same thing applies for you. You have to decide, you've committed to this program. So once you've completed this program and you've got everything in place, you've taken action, then you'll need to determine after that, what's the next thing that you need to learn? What's something deeper that you want to kind of dive into and master? The next question, what's the one thing I need to do right now in order to move my business forward. And so for me, when I read the book, The One Thing, a big thing for me on how I generate leads for my business is creating that content. Now, that's something you did in the content marketing module, is come up with your content marketing plan. So that was the one thing that I really focus on when it comes to moving my business forward, is making sure that I'm creating that consistent content every single week to help me, build my audience, build rapport, and then of course to get sales and signups. And so you have to determine, what's the one thing that you need to do right now to move your business forward. Maybe you're in a position where you're focusing on your marketing. It's more of like the back end, but you need money right now. And so maybe for you put a bigger priority on prospecting and making as many connections as you can, and showing as, exposing your offer to as many people as you can from more a proactive standpoint. So again, this is another question that you can ask. Moving on, we've got a couple more. What's the one thing I can do to show my child I love them? And again, this concept goes beyond just business, but you can put this concept into all aspects of your life to really hone in. And instead of trying to do a ton of different things, what's one thing you can do in each area to move you forward, to get you closer to your goals? And so if you've got kids, what's the one thing I can do today just to show my child I love them? Or what's the one thing I can do to really show my husband or my spouse that I really, appreciate them, what they do? And again, when you do this, it allows you to put your freaking blinders on and just get to work so that you can make progress faster. And so again, let's move on to my fourth tip for you, which is to set office hours, okay? So this is something, and why I say, if you can set office hours, because let's say you've got a full-time job and just fitting in a few hours a week, this might not work if you're just working your kind of business as more of like or not really a hobby, but more of like, a side business, but you are working a full-time job. Or let's say, when I was a stay-at-home mom, I was with my little girl all the time. She was younger. I didn't really have any help. And so I wasn't really able to set office hours because I never really knew what was going to happen. And so at that point, I was just kind of fitting in between naps, or I would get up a little earlier in the morning when she was still sleeping, and I would just, work my business in the nooks and crannies of my day. And it wasn't until she started school that I was really able to set office hours and set a specific time that I was gonna, start working on my business and in my business, and when quit time was. And obviously during the summer or during, school breaks, this can change as well. But if you're able to set office hours and let everybody know that, hey, on these days, between these times, I am working my business. So that is tip number 4. Tip number 5, moving on, is to get organized. Now, here's the thing. When you are able to really get organized, and I know that this is an area that you may or may not struggle with, but this can really give you back upwards of an hour a day. It is crazy. And I remember taking an online course once, and she referenced a study that showed the average American spent 1 hour a day looking for items they had, but they couldn't find. And to really put this in perspective, that is 7 hours a week that the average American spends just looking for items that they have, but they can't find. And that's where getting organized can really come into play and give you back so much time. And, if you think about it, that's 30 hours a month, 365 hours a year. That's literally over 2 weeks of wasted time that people spend just looking for items. It blows my mind. And I'm a firm believer that sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. And so what I want to challenge you to do is I want to challenge you to make the time. Remember, it's not about having the time, it's about making the time to really organize your workspace and other areas in your house that really needs it, so that you can know exactly where everything is and you aren't searching for it. I know for me in my house, I'm pretty OCD about everything having a particular place because I hate going to get something and it not being where it's supposed to be. And, when it comes to my office, I organize my office. I have a desk. I organize all of my notes into binders. I have specific like dividers and baskets, and my drawers. I have these different dividers in my drawers to keep everything organized. And I also go back and reorganize ever so often. And this is something that you're going to have to do is ever so often you're going to have to go back and reorganize whenever you feel that maybe it's getting a little bit messy. But when you do get organized and you create a habit of putting things back in a specific place, you aren't wasting precious time that you have that you could be working on something else to move your business forward. This is also something I'm very much teaching my little girl. If she takes off her shoes and she throws them in the floor, I'm like, hey, where do those shoes go? And she knows if she's downstairs, they go on the stairs. And so that way, when I go up in her room, we can grab the stuff on the stairs, take it up, put it up where it belongs in her bedroom. And eventually it'll become more of a habit. It's just drilling that into her. But if there's, something in a particular area that you're wanting help organizing with and you're not really for sure just where to start, let me know in the comments below this video, because what I plan on doing is I plan on creating just some extra content to put up just on my YouTube channel, just free content. And then what I can do as I see what you're needing help with, I'll just go back and kind of edit the description ever so often to link to some of those videos, whatever you're needing help with. But to finish up, that is tip number 5, is to get organized. Number 6, get help, okay? One of my favorite quotes is from Chalene Johnson, and she says, you can have it all, but you can't do it all. And I absolutely agree with this. And I'll be talking more just about outsourcing in lesson 5 of this module. But this has also been a huge way that I've been able to get way more done in less time. And so what I want to do is I just wanted to touch on this because, again, it's been such a game changer for me. And you're only one person and you're only able to do so much. And, I remember back a few years ago, it's been a few years, but my daughter was probably about 3 at the time. And I was just trying to do everything by myself. I had no help. I did not have any, I did not have a team at that time. I had no virtual assistants. And I remember us sitting in the floor one day, and I didn't have any online programs at the time, and I was just in beast mode. I was just hustling. At that point, I guess, in my head, I thought that you just had to just work harder and put more time in. And I remember somebody had messaged me, and I was playing in the floor with my little girl, and I was like on my phone trying to respond back because I was so afraid that I was going to miss out on a sale if I didn't reply like right then. And my little girl grabbed my face and she was like, Mommy, play with me, put your phone down. And that was when I knew that I had to get it together, okay? And so there's so many different ways and that you can actually outsource. And I'll just kind of go through and I'll share with you some of the different things that I've outsourced over the years. And I have kind of been deemed by my circle as the outsourcing queen because I have a particular little motto these days, and that is, if I don't know how to do it, screw it. I will find somebody who does, okay? And so I just want to kind of share with you a few of the things that I've outsourced just to kind of get your creative juices flowing. So tech work, I'm not a very techie person. And so a lot of the times I will outsource things that I really don't know how to do tech-wise. Video editing, a lot of just my YouTube videos now I'll edit, but I do also have a video editor, and she used to edit a lot more videos back when I was just producing more content, and every now and then I still have her edit, but that's something I've had her do. I've got a general virtual assistant who just does, some of the time consuming tasks like add subtitles to my YouTube videos, or he'll go and add subtitles to Facebook videos that I put up on Facebook. So a general VA, he kind of does, a variety of things. Graphics, I outsource graphics. Copywriting, I've outsourced it in the past, and when I need it, different slide decks. So the pretty little slide that you're seeing right now, I remember I spent a lot of time on Canva and also in Word, PowerPoint, I guess at the time, trying to come up with like a really just clean but pretty just slide deck that I could use for presentations. And I spent so much time on it. And then I bought a course, an online course. I went through it. And one of the extras that you could get was slide deck templates for PowerPoint or Keynote for Mac users, which is what I'm using right now. And so this was actually one of the slide decks. I want to say I paid around $300 for 5 different templates, but it saved me a lot of time, and I really like this one. So of course it saved me time, made my life easier, so I grabbed it, and now I use these all the time. So that, babysitting, somebody to come and keep my little girl entertained, definitely a must these days. House cleaning, different types of housework. So if I had somebody come and, do some work on my washer and dryer, and we had somebody come and put new floors in our pool house and pour concrete. And so any type of housework, pool work, yard work, we have somebody that comes and mows and weed eats, and car cleaning, I've had it outsourced. Customer service, so inside of the Mom's Marketing Lounge, I've got a assistant who is part-time, and she is the one who keeps up with payments, and she keeps up with the incentive program that I've got going on inside of the Mom's Marketing Lounge and reaching out to members. She gathers information, addresses, and things like that. So customer service, I definitely feel like it's a huge deal, and it can be time consuming. So that's something that I currently outsource. Organizing, I've outsourced that before. Social media, video transcription, Easter eggs. This is a funny story. Our local high school this year on Easter, they sent notes home, and the high school band put on this fundraiser where you could buy so many eggs, and the students, the band members, stuffed the eggs, and they even came and would put them out in the yard with a little note from the Easter Bunny, and I thought it was genius. I was like, if more schools would put on fundraisers to make the parents' life easier, they would make so much more money. So I kind of laughed that I outsourced Easter eggs, but on Easter morning, my little girl got up and immediately was able to go on an Easter egg hunt, and I didn't have to do anything extra, so it was super, super cool. So moving on from there, last tip before we wrap up this lesson is eliminate distractions, okay? This is very, very important. And I will say, just to kind of back up, I'm going to back up for just a second when it comes to outsourcing and just kind of let you just give you a little mindset shift here. Because I want you to understand that just because you know how to do something, number one, doesn't mean you should. And number two, if you feel like, I'm just not in a place where I have a bunch of extra money to just go crazy or spend a fortune, understand that when it comes to outsourcing, you can totally start slow. I hired my first virtual assistant for 5 hours a week to just do some of those like time-consuming tasks in my business, and it totally helped. And there was a point before I hired my first assistant, I had somebody that come in and would clean the house. I actually paid my mom, and she would come in like once a week and clean for 5 to 7 hours. And it's like, that may not seem like much, but hey, that's 5 to 7 hours that you get back in a week to work on something else. And so over time it can add up. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you before I moved on to number 7, which was eliminating distractions. And I'm going to give you 4 different tips here, 4 different ways that you can eliminate distractions. And I feel like this is very, very important, especially in a time where we are consistently being pulled in a million different directions. And you can lose so much time and productivity, not to mention the time it takes for your brain to actually refocus on the task at hand. It can take a while, okay? So I'm going to give you 4 ways that you can help to eliminate distractions. So the very first one is turn off your notifications. So anything that dings or distracts you, this could be social media notifications on your computer, on your phone, your email. If you are on the internet, sometimes I'll have little dings that pop up in the upper right hand corner, and so I had to go into my settings on my computer to turn off those notifications, because if I'm working on something and I have stuff constantly popping up, I get easily distracted and it could take me off course. And so, just go back if you know that social media is a distraction for you, and every time your phone dings, you want to look over at it, then turn those off and have specific times that you actually get on and check social media, so you can be a little bit more intentional. Now, the second way that you can eliminate distractions is to let your family know your schedule. Now, Mondays are content creation day for me in regards to my free content I put out on my YouTube channel. And so I have kind of trained my family to know, my husband, my parents, anybody who I know calls me a bunch. So they kind of know, hey, on Mondays, don't bother Sherri during school hours because she's going to be shooting videos and she doesn't want to be disturbed, okay? And so if you're working on a project for a couple of hours on a Wednesday, let those that around you know that it's important, you're working on something important, and to not bother you unless it's just an emergency. And so again, this has really helped me to get more done and be more productive on the tasks and things that really need my full focus, okay? So that's tip number 2. The third way to eliminate distractions is don't be afraid to say no, okay? So here's an example. So my niece, who is also my assistant, she does customer support for the Mom's Marketing Lounge. She was local to me for a little while, and she would come to the house and work. Well, when she first started working for me, we had different family members. She would get calls from different family members like, hey, can you run and do this? Or hey, can you run and do that? And she was constantly having people call her. And I just told her, hey, you know what? Just let them know these are your hours that you work for me. And during those hours, you aren't going to be sitting here running other people's errands or doing this because, this is your job. You're getting paid for it. And so that's, she had to let them know, hey, I'm actually working. So don't be afraid to say no, okay? So that's just an example. And the fourth way is to set up your environment or your workspace in advance. And here's an example. I used to not have an office, and at our previous house, I did not have an office. And so stuff was just kind of scattered, and I would so often sit down and then realize that I needed something, and it was just a constant stopping and starting because I didn't have anything in one specific area. And so I really, really encourage you to set up some type of workspace. I don't care how small it is, where you've got all of your stuff, it's there, you have it organized, and it's really going to make a difference on just keeping those distractions down if you've got everything in one place. And I know that here's another example. When I sit down to record videos or to do live coaching, that I know not only that I need to let my husband know, but I also put out the dogs, okay? Because we have 3 dogs and and if a leaf blows, they are barking. And so of course, before I sit down to do any coaching, I have to set up my environment so I'm not distracted. And I know my animals are a huge distraction. So I go ahead, I put them outside, I put their food and water outside. If I'm getting on a live coaching call, I will shoot my husband a message and say, hey, I'm gonna be doing a live coaching call. So if you come in, just be quiet. Or I will, message my mom if it's a pop-up and she doesn't know when my coaching sessions are. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be wrapped up. Just try not to call. If you need me, just message me and I'll answer it. So again, this all is a part of setting up your environment and your workspace in advance so that when you do sit down to get work done, you can be fully focused and you aren't being shifted, you aren't being pulled, okay? Now, in the description, I'll also link to another video that I did that if you feel like these tips are great, but you could use some more in regards to how to eliminate distractions. I've got 5 more tips that I put on my YouTube channel. Again, I'll link it below in the description, so feel free to check that out if you need to. Otherwise, these 4 ways might just be enough to increase your productivity. So moving on, now we are going to make this lesson actionable. So the first activity that I want you to do, and again, this is for you if you feel like you are just so busy and you wish you had a little bit more time. What I want you to do, and this is a little bit, you might feel like it's a little bit like, oh, you're going to fight against me. You may not want to do this, but get a piece of paper out. And over the next 2 to 3 day period, I want you to track every 30 minutes what you're doing, okay? So you can even Google and print out, 30-minute increment, print out something on there. And then if you're sleeping from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, on all those blocks, put sleeping. If you are watching TV, put watching TV, or getting ready, or I'm sitting down. Because what happens is a lot of people don't even realize like how much time they're wasting just doing extra stuff, or they don't realize how much TV they're watching or how much they're browsing social media but not really being intentional about it. And so if you're tracking this, then you can probably find an extra hour in your day. Some people have even, been able to find more, where you can really be more intentional, okay? So that is the first activity. I also want you to determine your top 3 business drivers, which are your top 3 priorities for your business, and I want you to write them in the comments below this video. And again, I also want you to add your personal development. So your personal development goal might be to finish the Mom's Marketing Lounge curriculum. Like, that's my priority. I'm not going to be buying other courses. I'm not going to be listening into other webinars right now. Like, I'm going to finish this program. So put your 3 business drivers plus your personal development goal. And then also, I want you to let me know which of these tips you're going to implement to increase your own productivity. Now, I've thrown quite a lot at you in this particular lesson, so don't try to sit here and do everything that I mentioned, okay? Because if you try to do it all, you're going to end up getting overwhelmed and frustrated. So just start picking, 1 or 2 things that you can do, implement them, and then maybe you can add some more, test and tweak, things like that. But with that being said, we are at the end of this lesson. Hope you got some benefit from it, and I will see you in lesson 3, where we're going to be discussing all about your DMO, your daily method of operation, and managing your calendar. Bye for now. All right, well, that wraps up the 7 tips. Now, hopefully you are going to take action so that you feel way more productive and not just busy, okay? Being busy is not necessarily ever going to move you forward. So with that being said, if you did get some value from the video, be sure to hit that like button and share it out. Sharing is caring, right? Now, I would also love to know in the comments below your question of the day, and your action step is, which 2 to 3 of these tips are you going to start implementing to increase your own productivity? Let me know below in the comments. With that being said, I hope you have the most amazing day. And if you want to take me up on, on the Mom's Marketing Lounge trial right now, again, you can get a 5-day trial for only $1, okay? So hop in, dive more into the time management. There's way more. Again, you can learn more over at the Mom's Marketing Lounge. Can't wait to see you on the inside and help you move your business forward. Hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.